much the same. They have the same parts and everything with the developing of it.
Right, right. Remember one of those little rules that resemble those that we are most closely related to? And the more distantly related we are, the earlier differentiation occurs. So you can tell fish and salamander right away are different, can't you? But you can't tell if the other ones are different because we're still alike in that same stage 2. But by stage 3, we can differentiate. So what I wanted to emphasize was the fact that this ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny actually works. That we can't tell, I can't tell, stage 1, which animal is which. Stage 2, we can differentiate, again, fish, which is a fish, and salamander, which is that's an amphibian, right? And but we're more closely related to birds and the tortoises and birds and the other mammals. The other mammal, the hawk. So at any rate, I don't mean to make you feel silly because I'd be silly too. But that's the way we're so Flaubert is probably quite correct. Here are all the embryos that were used in the original demonstration back in the 60s. So, let's look at a particular structure, the jaw. Where does the jaw come from? Well, if we look at the jaw, where the jaw comes from, the jaw comes from the structure called a gill arch. This is the so-called agnathous chordae. This has an opening there, and in order to feed, it has to swim. Stuff goes into its mouth. But this enlarges and becomes the upper jaw and the lower jaw. And eventually, upper and lower jaw with teeth. But embryologically, that's what happens. Paleologically, that's what happens. We look at the fossil record, that is where the jaw comes from. This gill arch in the early fish. And that is where it comes from embryologically as well. So embryology is, again, recapitulating our history, or retelling our history. Every time the child is conceived, that goes there. In terms of different creatures, here's a shark on the left, and human on the right, and you can see where the different structures come from, or the different gill arches that are here in the shark and here in the human, almost indistinguishable in terms of structure. In the shark, they end up being still gill arches and jaws. In the human, the gill arch here becomes part of the jaw, and then part of the larynx, and part of the inner ear as well, for the different gill arches. But embryologically, they look a lot alike, but in the adult, they look quite different. These develop into different structures. It's one of the lessons that evolution sort of takes what it has and works with it. We have the genes. We know what genes are involved in this. And there they are. And, of course, since we have a sort of a fish background, we race your inner fish. What about genetics? Genetics is a way to compare different species. Do we have the same genes? Are the genes same? Are they similar? Again, Dr. Jordy at the Human Genetics, as we share 33% of our genome with broccoli. Still think it's too high. But we certainly share a good deal of our genetic material with apes. Let's look at the chromosomes as an anatomical genetic structure. Everybody knows what chromosomes are. They're found in the nucleus of cells that have nuclei. Red blood cells don't have nuclei, so they don't have the chromosomes, but the cytoplasm does have a different set of chromosomes. Okay, genes are located on the chromosomes. Chromosome just means colored body. Chromosomes can be stained, and then you can see different regions. The genes determine how our body will grow and how it will function. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Chimpanzees are our closest relative. Chimpanzees have 24 pairs of chromosomes. Just to remind us what we have here, we have a cell. Here, this is the mock-up of the cell. Here's the nucleus. And inside there are the 23 pairs of chromosomes. And we have this mitochondria right here, which perform physiological functions. But hundreds of billions of years ago, our ancestor picked up a virus in one of our sex cells, and it got into the mitochondria. And that parasite has become part of our genome and has specific important functions and cell function that we share with plants and animals. So there are other genes there. The genes in the mitochondria in humans are inherited through our mothers, and we're going to talk about that later. We can look at female lineages all the way back to mitochondrial Eve, and we talk about mitochondrial Eve. This is very much of those genes. But the other, the 23 pair are right here. Y chromosome, we can trace male lineages back there. But let's look at the chromosomes themselves. See where we have some similarities with chimpanzees. Here's a picture of a chromosome pair. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is a so-called karyotype. And it shows the genes of humans. There's 1 through 22 plus X and Y. Get that later. Okay, we have 22 pairs of chromosomes. We're here plus X and Y. On the left, on each pair, is the human chromosome. On the right is the chimpanzee. On the left, for instance, chromosome 1, human, chimpanzee. Chromosome 2, here's the human. But here we have 2 different chromosomes. And as you might be able to see, I hope that you're able to see, there is a great deal of similarity between the short arm of our chromosome 2 and chromosome 2A of chimpanzees, and the long arm of chromosome 2 with chromosome 2B of chimpanzees. And as you see, so many of the other chromosomes, they just look extremely alike. The left is human, the right is chimpanzee on each one of these pairs. The X chromosome is very similar in humans and chimpanzees, but the Y chromosome that defines maleness is somewhat different. Humans are a little longer on there, and they were a little shorter there. But the chromosomes pretty much line up. Let's look at it a little closer at chromosome number 2, since it is kind of an odd one, since we have only 1 and they have 2. But, we look at this is the karyotype. We look at the chromosomes in stylized form. Here is the human, full chromosome number 2. Here's 2A chimpanzee, 2B chimpanzee. And they simply line up. Now, how it happened, I don't know. We don't know. It just happened. We just have 1 fewer chromosome. And whether we got more efficient or
So our chromosomes look alike. This is how it probably happened. We don't know why. Behavior is another characteristic that we can compare. It's not anatomical, it's partially genetic. Well, part of it's anatomical as well, because the anatomy we get is what we can use in our behavior. Clarence R. Carpenter was my professor at Penn State. He was a pioneer in primate studies. He studied two species, the gibbons in Thailand, or the Halabades lar, and the howler monkeys in Central America. They have the terrific name of Alouatta polyana. It's like something a rap artist would do something with. He also spent most of his life pioneering TV courses at the behest of his bosses, which he eventually thought of as a total waste of his life, as opposed to doing primate studies. Well, behavior is interesting. Behavior is complex. It isn't very easy to study. The genetic component, the genetic components of behavior are only partially known, and certainly environment plays a great role. There's an environmental component, which is slightly better known, but still is variable. And of course, our behavior is really a combination of our genes and the environment in which they operate. Learning is very important in humans. And it's important in other species as well. All mammals learn. When kids play, that's their job. What they are doing is learning about the world. Water is liquid. It can be cold. It can be warm. Rocks are hard. Rocks weigh a certain amount. If you have a rock of a certain size, it's going to weigh a certain amount, and so forth and so on. And social learning, too. If you punch the kid next to you, the kid next to you is going to punch you right back, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that kids learn by play. So again, play is the work that kids do. That's their job. I think you get it to pay us a little bit better. There is some shared behavior. Incest taboo, for instance. Humans have an incest taboo that is variable. Almost all groups prohibit marriage between close relations. This is not always the case. The Inca in Peru demanded that the Inca marry his sister, or that the Inca's sister marry the Inca, the ruler. The Egyptians had a similar system where you married your sibling. But almost all other groups, this was an anomaly, and it was only found in the royal families of Egypt and Peru. All the groups have this avoidance, and as a matter of fact, if we look at other species, they have that same avoidance as well. They tend not to mate with their siblings. And of course, the basic reason among humans is, as we find out boredom. How would you like to mate with your sibling? Would you like to marry your sibling? Chances are you probably don't, in which case it would be absolutely normal. One of our faculty members did studies in the kibbutz of Israel and found that of all the thousands and thousands of people, kids that were raised together, I mean, they're raised together communities, so it's a sort of communist thing. They're potty trained together, they play in the sandbox together, and so forth. And out of the thousands and thousands of kids that were raised that way, they only find 2 marriages. And why? Boredom, or you know too much about them already. And it's only when you meet somebody, when you go away from this, that you become interested in other individuals. So the old song, just adore the boy next door, the girl next door, is okay if the girl or boy just moved in. If the boy or girl has been there since you were in kindergarten, chances are you're not going to marry him. You're not going to find them interesting. High school's different. Anyway, again, this is a common mechanism in all birds and mammals. Infanticide, common in mammals, uncommon when the biological father is present. As I mentioned before, I think the child has a 50 to 70 times higher chance of being killed if the male in that child's mother's life is not the biological father. 50 times in New York and 70 times in Canada. These were the studies. This is true in other mammals, and it's simply a mechanism for getting rid of the kid that you don't want to raise. If you've read Dickens' book Nicholas Nickleby, the same system was used in England, essentially. Of course, you can't kill the kid outright in England in Victorian times, but what you can do, if you marry a woman with a male heir who is going to inherit the money, is send that male heir to a school far away where they don't feed them, they don't clothe them well, they make them work hard, and chances are they're going to die. And they do. And then you get mom's money. It's the same basic system, except it's a little more subtle. Dickens was outraged by this and wrote his book, Nicholas Nickleby, to expose that system. It's such a polite way to kill your kid, your stepson. Isn't it? Really nice. There are other examples of shared behavior that we'll talk about later on, but that's what we do. Any questions? Yes.
Can you show us the slide of the rules that you have for embryos again?
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I show it again? Sure. Let's see, I'm going to have to do this, and then...
Yeah.
See, this is on there.
Yeah.
Start there.
Oh, the next one.
Next one. Okay. And then go on from there. Okay, so I'll just go to the last one because that has everything on it, okay?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
It's got the whole shooting match. Yes?
Did Linnaeus only categorize animals?
No, he categorized plants as well. They did plants and animals. Always with this fixity of species idea. With variability. Question over here. Okay. Yeah, he classified both plants and animals. He was very eclectic, very bright, but toward the end of his life he became senile and got really quirky. A lot like all of us, we're still a little. Actually, it was about the same time that the Swedish king also got gaudy. They had to bring in the French general from the Bernadotte to start the new royal lineage in Sweden. Other questions? Did I go through that too fast?
Oh, yeah, that should go on.
Yes.
Thanks to the genius over here, they will be. Yes, sir. Pardon? Say it a little louder. Well, we resemble them, but we are always human. So that at one point you can't tell them apart just by looking at the embryos cursorily. But some people say, well, when we went through a fish stage, we went through an amphibian stage, but we don't really, we're always human. So if we go through human stages, it's just that the human stages resemble